Vengeance isn't a path to glory, Hugh. It's a one-way ticket to a dead end.
I decided that in order to close off my review series of The Boys Season 1 in a timely manner, without feeling stressed out about finishing all of the episodes on time or risk getting burned out by analyzing all of this content, the best course of action would be to combine the final 2 episodes into one video. We have Episode 7, The Self-Preservation Society, and Episode 8, You Found Me. In watching these episodes, there was a lot to appreciate, but one of the main things I decided to focus on in today's video is the way that all of these main characters end up being very well explored and developed by the time the first season wraps. An accomplishment that is very impressive considering how large of an ensemble of characters the show has to cover in just 8 episodes. There are certain characters like Huey or Butcher and Homelander that get introduced very early on with a lot of screen time. But even characters whose layers don't get explored as much when the show first starts, like A-Train or Maeve, end up having really interesting material in these last 2 episodes. I'm also going to touch on how certain character arcs could progress in season 2, or what I would like to see from them moving forward.
That hurts. Stop. Stop.
It's just my pinky.
No, I said it hurt.
The Deep is a character that in many ways embodies the long-running stereotype of the cheesy superhero with fish powers. Before Zack Snyder had the vision to cast Jason Momoa as Aquaman and make him cool, Aquaman often ended up being the butt of the joke. The Deep is less respected than the other members of the Seven, and on top of that, his most noteworthy character introduction at the beginning of the series is that he is a predator. We finally start to see the repercussions of his predatory behavior when he is banished to Sandusky, Ohio. Despite my personal dislike for the character, I can appreciate that the writers gave his story more dimension. He is fetishized for his aquatic features and assaulted. It's an interesting choice to take his story in this direction. What I like about the way this is presented is that you are not supposed to feel glad that this happens to him. It's far too common in media that assault is used as some sort of punishment, revenge, or perhaps most insulting of all, a source of comedy, particularly when it happens to men. Pop Culture Detective has a video about this topic if you want to learn more about that.
I've always wanted to lead my own unit, Jeff. Smells like a comeback.
These last 2 episodes reveal how empty the Deep is. He has these aspirations to be more of a leader at Vought when it comes to running different missions. He seems to feel really empty and lacking in purpose when he doesn't have his usual itinerary of staged missions, photo ops, and so on and so forth. For season 2 and that sneak peek clip of him with the whale that Butcher drives a boat into, we can see that he is back in the good graces of Vought in season 2, or at least enough so to help them with hunting the boys down. I hope that they address the aftermath of him being assaulted instead of just brushing it aside like it didn't have any effect on him. Apart from that, I don't have many strong feelings about what his story should do. At this point in the show, he is my least favorite character, but everyone disliked Chuck Bass when Gossip Girl first started, and by the end, he was more or less everyone's favorite. Also, Eric Kripke has proven himself to be a brilliant showrunner and creative mind, so if anyone can change my mind about the Deep, it would probably be him.
What is this, man? I kill your girlfriend and you kill mine?
I didn't kill your girlfriend.
You used her!
A-Train ended up having one of the most refreshing endings to his season arc. The way he is so persistent in avoiding accountability for his actions, so he treats Huey like a scapegoat, was not how I expected their conflict to go. We see how the various members of the Seven all suffer under the weight of the expectations and responsibilities that come with this job, and all of the nefarious things that are involved past the shiny facade that they project to the public.
Listen, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, wait, so now that you know I'm A-Train, now we're good?
A-Train getting racially profiled at a department store was an incredibly smart bit of commentary to add into the story, since it addresses the precarious dynamic of growing accustomed to feeling more insulated from the isms of society as you gain more wealth and power, but that does not mean that the danger ever fully goes away. As soon as he encounters a security guard who doesn't realize who he is treated like any other member of a group that is disproportionately targeted by the most powerful members of of the status quo. It also serves as a nice bit of foreshadowing to season 2, since Eric Kripke talked about some of the socio-political topics the show would be addressing in season 2, and one of those happens to be white nationalism.
When I raise subjects without their mothers, they become violent, aggressive, downright hateful.
Homelander continues to be one of the most fascinating characters of the show, and we finally get to the root of his origins and why he is the way he is. If you have studied anything related to developmental psychology, it all starts to make sense that he is a poorly adapted individual since he was raised in a lab. He has been deprived of all of the typical social conditioning you would undergo by being around a loving family, friends, and other socialization through being around people at your school and other community groups. This is by no means a justification for his unethical transgressions over the season, but this is an important part of his character development to the audience. I also love that you get to see him express some genuine emotional pain, since it's not something we usually get to see from him. In season 2, I am hoping we will get to continue to explore this side of him so we can learn if he can have any sort of genuine empathy for others. I want to see whether or not him having a son will make him want to be a better, more ethical person. I don't expect him to stop being a villain entirely, but there's just a lot of potential to explore him in really interesting, nuanced ways.
Wow. I can't remember the last time Maeve gave a shit about anyone.
Maeve probably had the least exploration out of everyone in the 7, except for Black Noir and Translucent, of course. Still, I love the way you finally start to see her open up at the end of this season. When she sticks up for Annie, you get the sense that she's finally making a connection that she hasn't been able to do in quite some time. I would have loved to see more interactions between Maeve and Annie, so that's something I hope they explore more in future seasons. However, the relationship arc that they have, particularly in the latter half of the first season, is very good. When Maeve advises Annie not to care about anyone because ultimately it can be used against her, these words are heavy with the implication that this is what she has had to deal with during her tenure in the 7. This would explain why she tends to be so cold and distant from others, but when she reveals that she really did break every bone in her arm when saving a bus full of children many years ago, it's clear that underneath all of the trauma and baggage of having served in the 7 for so long, there is still a hero that has the potential to find her way back. I really like the idea of them continuing down a path of Annie reminding Maeve to be the hero she once was, since Maeve was an important figure in getting Annie to be true to her own good nature, instead of pretending to be what the 7 wants her to be.
Be the annoying goody two-shoes asshole that you are. One of us has to be.
Huey tells Annie about the Compound V conspiracy and the fact that this is the reason she has her powers. She confronts her mother, and you can see that this sends her existential crisis through the roof, particularly since she was already shown throughout the season to be questioning her faith, her dreams, and her very identity.
No wonder I don't know who the fuck I'm supposed to be! Annie!
Annie is encouraged by Maeve to be true to herself, and Annie decides to own not only her powers, but the genuine desire she has to help people. She never wanted to be a hero for the glitz and glamour. What I am most interested in seeing for Annie in season 2, in addition to her getting more scenes with Maeve, is the way she will interact with the boys. I am assuming she'll be playing both sides in season 2, and of course her relationship with Huey is far more complicated now. It would be nice to see them work things out, since I ended up finding a new appreciation for their relationship when I rewatched the season more carefully to make these video reviews. Now that Annie has a better sense of who she is, I am ready for her to start thriving and doing what needs to be done to take Vought down.
Like you said, I'm a fucking superhero.
Huey, 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 sweet little baby Huey. It's nice to see him finally break away from Butcher in this episode, having realized that despite their similar origin stories of losing the women they love to a violent superhero, Butcher is far more ruthless in his quest for vengeance. Deep down, Huey is all heart, so he would rather not leave the rest of the captured boys locked up. As a matter of fact, he manages to be heroic in an entirely Huey way by sneaking in his high school retainer for Frenchie to use to pick the locks.
I managed to polygrip in my 12th grade retainer. It looked like a permanent bridge, and it totally worked. Frenchie, you could pick a lock with anything, right?
What I love about Huey's journey towards being heroic is that he doesn't fundamentally change who he is to fit the mold of a typical action star. He is not an expert at weapons or combat, but he will try to help as best as he can, even when he is scared.
I can't do this.
You just pulled the fucking trigger right now! I'm sorry! I'm sorry!
In season 2, I hope to see Huey find his footing a bit more when it comes to all of the action and missions the boys will have to do as fugitives on the run. It wouldn't make sense for him to be as skilled as the other members of the team, but it would probably get off-putting if he never learned anything or found a way to contribute as best as he could. I would also like to see him interact more with the other members of the boys besides just Butcher. He had a few good scenes with Mother's Milk and Frenchie, but if they are all going to be on the run together, I would like to get a better sense of how his chemistry is with people besides Annie and Butcher.
What's your end game?
I'm just gonna hurt you.
Unlike many of the revenge stories we see in the action genre, Butcher is not successful in his efforts to take out Homelander. It's nice to finally have all of the moving pieces of his personal history come together, from being recruited by the CIA operative Grace Mallory, who told him the truth about Vought and the fact that his wife was alone in a room with Homelander for hours, emerged looking disheveled, before later going missing after sitting at a park bench where she was captured on surveillance cameras. Butcher murders Mesmer in a rage once he deduces that Mesmer is the reason Vought knows all of their identities. This shows us how strong his thirst for vengeance is. He starts to become more nihilistic. Huey has left him, the boys have been captured, and he finally has a lead on what might be Homelander's only weakness, Madeline Stillwell. Butcher and Homelander's face-off in Madeline's home is one of my favorite scenes of the finale. When Homelander arrives, you get the sense that something else is brewing, but who could have predicted that he would turn on Madeline? He cuts the cord and kills her himself, so Butcher has no leverage. But all of the action, from this death and Butcher detonating the explosives, isn't even the most fascinating part of this scene. It's the way Homelander seems to appreciate Butcher's relentless pursuit of him. In a more basic superhero story, Butcher would be the hero avenging his wife, and Homelander would be the villain who goes down for killing Butcher's wife. But The Boys is anything but basic. Homelander had that chilling plane incident everyone loves to talk about, but Butcher is fresh off of murdering Mesmer with nothing but his bare hands and a bathroom sink. He also abandoned his team, just like Homelander abandoned those innocent people on the plane. By the time we reach this showdown between them, you can finally start to see that they are two sides of the same coin, and I think Homelander knows that.
Wow. Fuck. You are dark. And I kind of like it.
Homelander could easily snap Butcher before he would even notice, but he doesn't. He wants to hear him out, because in his own strange way, I think he likes Butcher. I think he recognizes a similar darkness in him. And I am really interested in seeing how things will play out in this trio, since Becca being alive makes things far more complicated. Remember that Butcher has fundamentally changed so much of who he was because he was acting from the perspective of someone who had lost everything. We see in the flashbacks that he was a regular man before he lost his wife. It is not a simple thing to just try to get back together. He will now have to reconcile everything he did in the name of vengeance when there wasn't a death to avenge in the first place. We have to see who he is now. Can he be more like he was before all of this started? Or is he too far gone? Then again, they are fugitives on the run, so this newer Butcher is far more equipped to handle the threats they are up against.
My grandchildren got incinerated. Tends to change one's perspective. There weren't even teeth left. Lamplighter had burnt them alive so thoroughly.
It's nice to meet Mallory to not only get a better understanding of Butcher's origins, but also the reason for the rift in Mother's Milk and Frenchie's relationship. At the same time, we also get to see them find some common ground, considering that earlier on in the season, Frenchie made fun of Mother's Milk for being so domestic and monogamous, and now it's Frenchie who is all torn up at the thought of his lady love being in danger.
Fuck.
You better be fucking worth it.
In season 2, I would love it if Frenchie and Mother's Milk repair their relationship even more. Apparently, Kimiko is going to be running off on her own solo mission. I'm just going to guess that she's looking for her brother. So while she's doing that, we might as well have these two teaming up more. There's not much else for me to say about Frenchie and Kimiko's relationship that I haven't already waffled about at great length, considering that these two were the first ones I ever talked about when I started doing videos about this show. I love all of the domestic bliss between them in these final episodes, no matter how short-lived it ends up being. I also love the fact that we get to see how deeply they understand each other.
She wants to know where you were.
In season 2, despite Kimiko running solo for her own mission, I hope they're still given time to be with each other and deepen their relationship. It's nice to see that Kimiko will be having her own agency as a character, but personally, I don't think she should have to choose between playing hero and keeping her man. One other thing that seemed to be foreshadowed is something to do with her voice. I am pretty sure they said in an interview that we would learn why Kimiko doesn't speak sometime during this season, but I would also love for the outcome of her season-long arc to be that she gets her voice back. Thanks for watching, everyone. Sorry that this video took so long to get out. I was having a bit of a creative block, and I was also working on other videos that you will hopefully get to see sooner rather than later. If you have not seen my other videos on the boys, I will link a playlist to them in the pinned comment of this video. Feel free to subscribe since I'm probably going to talk about season 2 once its episodes start airing. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Vero. See you in the next one. Bye.
Now that's what makes them spongy. Here you go.